Let's talk about the new Microsoft Surface Pro 11. This is probably one of the worst tech products I have used in a while. I mean, this thing is trying to be a tablet and a full laptop computer at the same time, and it's not good at either one of them. Plus, this is not a cheap computer. If you just want the base model with this keyboard, you're looking at roughly $2,000. And if you want this spec, which is slightly better with the X Elite processor, you're looking at almost $3,000, $2,900 to be exact. And just to give you an idea, you can get a brand new M3 MacBook Air for half the price, around $1,500. So at this price, I had some pretty high expectations for this, but it did not live up to any of them. So without even going into too much of the details, I just don't think this is a computer most of you should be buying, at least not 90 to 95% of you watching right now. But I still think there is one very specific type of customer for whom this might actually be a good purchase. So let's talk about this. Now, as I mentioned, this is trying to be a tablet and a full laptop at the same time. So naturally, I ended up comparing it to my experience of using the iPad Air 4 and the M1 MacBook Pro, the 13-inch model. However, this is not a fair comparison by any means because this is a 2-year-old laptop and this is a 4-year-old iPad. So in theory, at least, the Surface should be better than both of these, especially because you can buy this and this for less than the price of just one of these Surface Pros. So just keep that in mind as you watch this video. But I want to start by talking about some of the good things about this computer because there are a few things that I really like about it that I think Apple actually needs to copy from this. For example, this beautiful touchscreen. You see, when I started using my MacBook after using this, naturally, I just wanted to touch the screen to do a bunch of things. For example, switching tabs on Chrome. And the best example is using a calculator. Using a calculator with a keyboard is not fun, right? But with a touchscreen, it's way faster and it just feels natural. You can just boom, 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 tap and you're done, right? So much faster. I love it. And another thing, it's actually the face unlock feature this has. I think it's called Windows Hello, and it's great. It works perfectly most of the times. I also absolutely love the removable SSD this thing has. Removable and upgradable. I don't think I need to explain why this is an amazing feature, and every single laptop, computer, everything should have this. I also love that even the base model comes with at least 16 gigabytes of RAM. MacBooks, on the other hand, still come with 8 gigabytes, and in 2024, that's not acceptable. The performance and battery life is also something that has been significantly improved with these newer computers. Battery life is something I have noticed, but I won't be talking about that. I'm sure you'll find plenty of other videos about that if that's what you want to know. With that being said, let's switch gears to all the problems. The first one just has to do with this form factor. It's so weird. Like, it sounds good in your head when you think about it. A computer that can turn into a tablet and a laptop sounds nice, but when you actually use this, it's not good, believe me. The problem is that this takes up so much space compared to a traditional laptop. Look, if you want to use a normal laptop, this is around 8.5 inches. So if you can find this much space, you can use this laptop, right? And it doesn't matter what angle you want to use the screen at, you'll be able to do it. With this, that's not the case. So in this position, this is around 9.5 inches. But this is not a good position to use this in. The screen's a little too vertical. It's not like a nice angle to use the screen at. And this is very, look, you can see this is very wobbly, right? You wouldn't want to use it in this position. So ideally you want to have it back a little bit on a more natural angle. And I like to use it with the keyboard down. And in this position, you're looking at roughly 10.5 to 11 inches, but it gets worse. So if you want to tilt the screen back like you do sometimes with a normal laptop, this goes all the way up to like 14.5. And if you want it all the way back, this is like 16 inches. So the space that's required to use this thing comfortably is a lot more than a normal laptop. And this becomes a problem, especially if you are a student and you're trying to use your laptop on one of those side, desk tray things that you have in lecture halls, seats. This, I can imagine, would be very difficult to use on something like that. Or try using it on your lap. Good luck with that. It's almost impossible to do it comfortably. You see what I mean? This is not a good design overall. Laptops, I think they have a good design for a reason. This is kind of like reinventing the wheel and just getting it wrong the whole time. Just use the design that already exists. It works perfectly. Now let me quickly tell you about Squarespace, one of the best website building platforms out there. If you're not using it, you are missing out, my friend, because it's super easy to use. All you have to do is visit squarespace.com/Spixel, sign up for a free 14-day trial, no credit card required, and then you just pick a template that you like, you drag and drop your images, type your text, and connect your domain. That's literally how easy it is. If you don't have a domain, you can get that from Squarespace as well. It's an all-in-one platform. They have everything. In fact, I also recently bought a domain from Squarespace, spixelstore.com, and my other domain is also managed by Squarespace. So I trust them. That's why I'm telling you about them. So check them out. The link's below. You'll get 10% off your first purchase if you like it. With all these limitations, it feels like it would be nice to use it on like a desk connected to your monitor or something, but that's kind of not the point of this, right? This is supposed to be a super portable computer, but if you try to use it anywhere other than like a big desk, it's almost impossible to do it comfortably. And let's talk about this whole keyboard piece. It's very expensive. It's around 400 Canadian dollars, but it's not very good for how much it costs. To be fair though, I think this keyboard part is actually pretty good, and I might even prefer this more than the MacBook keyboard because this has a little bit more key travel than this. So this is nice for sure. I like this, but as a whole, like this whole part, not a fan of it, especially because like, there are other problems like this material, for example, it feels good, but this tends to not age very well. We know that gets dirty very easily, especially if you spill something on it. It's very difficult to clean it. But then this trackpad, it's tiny compared to the MacBook. And I know MacBooks have some of the best trackpads out there, but I mentioned that this is a 2-year-old laptop and it's a lot cheaper than this. So I don't think it's unfair to have high expectations for something like this. You see, this kind of reminds me of a cheap Chromebook that I used to use in high school, but the pen, not great. First of all, it has a very weird design. It feels nothing like a normal pencil. So personally, I wouldn't use this for anything other than taking like a few notes. If you're doing any kind of serious artistic work, you almost kind of have to get something like this iPad and an Apple Pencil. This is like the gold standard, and that's for a reason. It works very well. I think I like that it has an extra button at the back and it can be used as an eraser. That's a nice feature for sure. But again, other than that, this is not a good pen in my opinion. And then what is the purpose of this port? This is probably one of the most confusing things about this device. I know it can be used for data transfer and fast charging, but is that something USB-C is not capable of doing? And I think the argument is that it lets you use 2 USB-C ports and charge your device at the same time. Why not just remove this and put like 2 more or even 1 over here? That'll still give you your USB-C ports. I don't get it. Okay, I guess you can say that one benefit of this port is that just like the MagSafe, if you trip over the cable, your laptop won't go flying across the room. So sure, that makes sense. I get it. But, if I had the option to, get rid of this port and maybe have like a SD card slot over here, I would prefer that. So personally, I don't value these kind of ports as much as, like another useful port for like SD card slot, headphone jack, for example. So while it is nice to have these for just one reason, I would prefer to have a different port over here unless I'm getting this and all the other ports I need. Microsoft also sells a Surface dock, which you can connect using this port and then connect a bunch of other things to it. But that thing also costs like $400, I believe. Just add a little bit more money and get a much better dock that will also work with other devices in the future, even if you upgrade from this. Now, the person I think this would actually be a really good computer for is someone who owns a store or maybe like a restaurant, for example. So this would be at their checkout or their cashier. Normally, I've seen a lot of restaurants, for example, take orders on iPads or really compact small computers. For that kind of stuff, I think this would actually be pretty good because it's very slim, very compact, has great battery life, or I guess you can also have it plugged in the whole time. But this piece alone would be pretty good for someone like that without this keyboard part. And recently I actually went somewhere and there was a music concert going on over there. And I noticed that the guy who controls all the equipment for all the sound and everything, I don't know if you call it a DJ or whatever, I noticed that he was using one of these. I don't know which model, but it was there and it was just connected through one USB-C cable going to all his equipment and everything. But he also had it on a nice big flat surface. So this kind of goes back to what I was talking before, that you kind of need like a nice big flat desk or something like that to use this comfortably. You know, you can use it like on your lap or, you know, somewhere, some other place, but it's not the best experience if you try to do that. So yeah, that's what I think about this computer. And overall, if I had to summarize my thoughts, I would say that this is a very expensive computer. And for that price, I would expect something a lot more premium, a lot more polished and finished product. And this just isn't that. If this was like maybe $1,000 or maybe $1,200 max, then I would be like, oh, okay, maybe, you know, willing to accept some of the problems that it has. But at this price point, it's not good enough.